Hey guys, this is the second question and answer video I've done. I asked you to send in your questions on my Instagram page, and I've been absolutely blown away by the number of questions I received from you. Thank you for them all, and let's get straight to it. The first question comes from Matthias, who asks, how is your Hungarian? Well, I would say that my Hungarian is currently around the A2 level. In fact, I can show you the book that I'm using. I always use the Magyara books to learn Hungarian, and I think I'm progressing quite well. But I'm going to keep going until I get to at least a B2 level. The next question comes from CEO Lehan, who asks, Hungarian versus Chinese? Well, I think the question he's asking is, which is more difficult? Well, obviously the answer is Chinese. Chinese is much more difficult for the average person to learn than Hungarian. The main reason being that, of course, the Chinese characters have to be learned. You can't just write in the same alphabet as we would write in English. It takes a lot of work. Johan asked, will you make a video about Hebrew or Yiddish? Well, I might make a video about those languages, but I won't be making a language in those languages anytime soon because sadly, I can't speak them yet. Kadia asks, which one is more easier, Spanish or English? Well, if you're asking me, the answer is English because I was born in England. But maybe if you're born in Italy, then Spanish would be easier for you. It totally depends what your native language is and which languages you speak already for which languages are easier to learn. Kadir also asked, what's the hardest language to you? Well, if you're asking which language I found the most difficult, I would have to say it was Japanese. And I think Japanese is the most difficult language for every English speaker, probably for every European out there because of the difficult grammar, the distance in vocabulary, and also the fact they have 3 writing systems. Kadir continues, when did you start learning languages? Give us advice. I want to be like you so badly. Well, first of all, I'm not sure you would like to be like me. And the question when I started learning languages, well, I started learning languages when I was a child and I really got into it during my teenage years, and I've been learning languages ever since. If you want advice on how to learn languages, I have to tell you that the best way to do it is to buy a textbook, to find a teacher and to study as much as you can. And beyond that, you should probably practice whenever you can and just absorb the language from watching TV shows. TF Ruzga asked, what is your favorite language? Now, my favorite language is normally the language that I'm currently studying and the one I'm most passionate about. But if you had to choose a language that I've studied so far, I would have to say that Italian is my favorite language. Stevie asks, what was the first language you learned that used a different alphabet or writing system? Possibly the first languages would have been Chinese and Japanese when I was at university, but I didn't learn these languages to fluency. My Chinese is still intermediate and my Japanese is still very basic. So if you're asking me which writing system I learned first, I actually learned both the Cyrillic and the Greek alphabets when I was at school. I wasn't taught them at school, but I had English class and I didn't care for learning poems or reading literature. So I found a dictionary. It was about this big. And on the back pages, it had the Cyrillic and Greek alphabet. And instead of listening to the class and watching the teacher, I simply went through the dictionary every single class and learned the Cyrillic and Greek alphabets by heart. Marek Schindler asks, what do you do for a living? Well, one thing I do is I make videos for Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. But probably my main second business now is my language school, and I also write books. All you have to do is go to my social media pages, click on the link, and you will be able to download those books, or you can send me a DM if you're interested in language classes. Marek also asked, what do you think of Esperanto and Interslavic? Well, these languages are definitely interesting, but I don't think I'll be learning them myself. The main reason is you can't really use them. I love languages because I can go onto the street and talk to people. These made-up languages can't really be used any of the times, and I don't think they'll be picked up by many people in the future because we can learn other languages, most people can speak English, and technology will take over the communication in most situations. Yulia asked, what is the hardest part about learning a language? The hardest part about learning a language for most people is talking. Most people are often scared to talk to other people in a new language. They're scared to communicate. They're scared of being judged and making a mistake. But this isn't the thing that I find most difficult. As you know, I actually enjoy speaking languages that I'm still learning. I practice them on the internet. I make videos that you watch. And people rip me apart and say, you have a terrible accent, or you made this mistake, or you're pretending to speak this language. I don't care. I don't mind making mistakes. I actually enjoy it. If you wanted to ask me what the hardest part about learning a language is, it's actually probably the grammar. You'd think that somebody like me would revel in learning difficult grammar, but no, I actually find it incredibly difficult and it's a challenge. I learn languages despite the grammar, not because of it. Marina asked, what do you think about Armenia? Well, I've never been to Armenia myself. I have been to Georgia, which is next door. But I would like to go to Armenia. I think it's an interesting country. There's delicious food from that country. Amazing culture, language is very interesting. So let's see what happens. Maybe this summer I'll be able to fly to Yerevan. Beton Nickhorn asks, should I focus on a small number of languages or on a wide array of them? Well, as many of you know, I'm currently studying 4 languages at the same time, but I don't necessarily recommend you do the same. I'm currently learning Polish, Hungarian, Ukrainian, and Turkish. For most people, that would be too much and overwhelming. So for the majority of you out there, I recommend that you simply learn one language and achieve at least a B2 level in that language before you start learning a new one. MKA Show asks, do you want to learn Azerbaijani? Trust me, Turkish and Azerbaijani are really similar. Yes, I know they're very similar languages. Currently, I'm learning Turkish, as I said, so maybe I'll keep the Azerbaijani until my Turkish is fluent, but I'm sure one day I would love to learn your language. Mehmet asks, do you have a girlfriend or even a boyfriend, but no offense if not? Why would I be offended that I don't have a boyfriend? I'm not gay. Yes, I do have many girlfriends, and maybe you'll see them on the video one day. And finally, Stormshade asks, why are you gay? I am not gay. You are gay. Why are you gay?